Hello everybody, it's Dr. Freddie. We're here to answer this week's question of the week, and it comes from a lot of our new moms. As you guys know, we're a family practice and see a lot of new families, pregnant women, and newborn babies. And so this week's question was, what is the best posture for me and my child while I'm breastfeeding? And that's a really good question. So instead of me answering it, although I know a lot about it, I haven't had the experience, as one of our great patients, Carmyn, is here with us. I'm going to let Carmyn explain a little bit with her son Silas just about what some of the challenges are. So Carmyn, why don't you tell me a little bit, or tell everybody just your history and why you're here.
Well, my name is Karmyn Bokma, and me and my family have been coming to Chiropractic First for 8 years, and that's before we even had kids. And so it's almost like a family to be coming in here, and for the past 8 years. And so I've been pregnant and had 3 babies under the wonderful care of Dr. Freddie. I've been adjusted through every single pregnancy, and I'm convinced that because of the regular adjustments, I've had 3 incredible home births with midwives. Everything has gone so well, and my kids have been healthy. And then we've obviously just continued that healthy care with all of our kids being adjusted within days of them being born.
That's amazing. So Carmen's a prime example of the importance of chiropractic care even before pregnancy, during, and then after. And we've checked all the kids, as she said, immediately as soon as they've been born, to make sure they're free of any subluxations and living to their God-given potential. So one of the challenges, though, is post-pregnancy. We find actually the hardest time on a woman's body is not actually the 9 months while they're growing and developing, but also the afterwards, especially when you got 2 other little ones at home. And so Carmyn has brought up some concerns, and some other moms have, just like, how do I know it's hard on my body, but how do I have the right posture without hurting my body as well as helping my baby? So what were some of the concerns that you found you had?
Well, I noticed after the birth of my daughter Eliana the first time around that my posture actually got worse. We've done such great care here, and subsequently with every child I'm now aware that there's so many factors. I'm extra tired. My body's just been through quite a bit with labor and delivery, and I find that my natural tendency is to just hunch over out of exhaustion, but also out of, there's now a newborn that I'm constantly wanting to stare at because he's so beautiful. And there's just so much that you need to tend to, from diaper changes, but breastfeeding is the big one because you do that so often, feels like all day, every day, especially at the beginning. And I know that I'm definitely not the poster child for good posture when I'm breastfeeding. And that's something I've been constantly aware of, and I don't want to regress in my care and in my posture, even though I'm feeding so often.
Absolutely. Well, if we talk about mom's posture first, obviously normal posture, we want to have our ears lined up over. There's a little point on our shoulder called the acromion. This little bump most of us have. Our shirts have a crease there usually, so that from the side, your ears should line up directly with that bump. The challenge is most of life tends to pull us forwards. Whether it's work we're doing on the phone that you're on right now to watch this, or on the computer, or obviously now staring at a beautiful baby. So generally that's the idea, right? We want to keep our heads back over the shoulders, and in a lot of instances we often see on people's x-rays their neck is bent the wrong way, so we actually have to adjust you with chiropractic specific adjustments, give you exercises, use devices like the Dental for traction to help restore that curve. So generally we want to at least keep a neutral posture with your ear over that shoulder, and so we don't want to be bending down. Obviously when you need to initially latch on and get them in the right position, that's something you have to do. But why don't we demonstrate that, Carmyn, too? We can give everybody a real life feel of how that would be.
So I take him and I turn him sideways, and I was always told to bring the baby to my breast and not hunch over, and that's the hardest thing to remember because it's so tempting. But that's absolutely something you want to do. So you want to bring them up to you and then kind of maintain their position as they're nursing.
So obviously in doing so, by bringing baby to breast, that produces more work on mom because she's going to have to hold the baby in that position where it's easier for her to hunch forward. So to help support that, Carmen's been using this breastfeeding pillow, which you can get at most breastfeeding stores and baby stores. And so depending on the height of the baby, your arm length, you want to find one so that your arm's rested and in just a relaxed position. You don't have to keep pulling the baby up, but also that the baby's in a position that literally your head can be back over your shoulders, right? Now, I know different babies have challenges sometimes with breastfeeding, or mom might have some sensitivities, so you might have to try different positions to find the right one that's comfortable for you. but just be always aware of having that head back over the shoulders. And that's where it's helpful to have Dad help out here. Also, he's not doing the breastfeeding himself, so the least he can do is help Mom with her posture. Just remind her, make sure her head is back. Find a chair that's ideally firm. I know we all will want couches and different positions that are more comfortable to sit on, so if you have to be on a couch, still you want to lean your upper body back. In doing so, you might need double pillows or something else to support your arms more and support the baby. One thing you can do while you're breastfeeding, how long do you usually feed him for?
About 15 minutes.
Yeah, so you ever got a good 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending on how quickly they're feeding. So you can actually use the time wisely and actually do some stretching, right? This is probably the only time you actually have to sit still or can sit still with 3 kids. So we definitely want to make sure you can actually keep your head back and just extend it back for as many seconds as you're comfortable. You can leave it there for a few minutes if you want, but at least 10 to 20 seconds at a time and recover. So, you know what, as busy as moms you are, you can never say you don't have time to stretch, because this is a perfect time to stretch when you're breastfeeding. And if for some reason you actually have to bottle feed, we all know that breast is best. It's the be aware of that posture as well. All right, so those are some simple things just to help you. Now for baby, one thing we want to be conscious of is of their posture. We often think of, you know, the adults because we know our own bodies, but we forget about the kids, and they're obviously the main focus of why we check them and we even adjust them right from birth. Well, obviously we want to make sure their spines are perfectly horizontally in line from the middle of their tailbone all the way to the middle of their spine. You can feel these little bumps along the way. Now they're very soft and they're not even hard bone yet. We want to make sure that those bumps of the vertebrae are all in line with the middle of the skull. You can see if his head was kinked too high up, maybe because Carmen's arm was in that position, or too far the other way, that's going to put his head in a kinked position that's going to cause more subluxations. You just think if you were like this for 20 minutes at a time, several times a day, how your neck would feel. Well, he or she are not going to tell you that, but these are the problems that are causing subluxations in the neck with the babies. All right. The other thing to watch is obviously just your position. You can also, when you're switching sides, make sure you're going to feel more comfortable if you're right-handed or left-handed. So it's easy to think that, you know, he might be a bit lower or higher on one side. So you want to make sure that, again, the body is completely aligned perfectly well. So it might be good if you're by yourself to have a mirror to the side and to the front, just until you get really aware of your posture, because it is something you have to see. You can't really feel it, so you have to see it, so your body's more aware of what's going on, all right? And obviously, Carmen, you mentioned that with some of your kids, it was easier to remember which side to feed on next.
Yes.
Well.
And some I forgot every time, and I had to think through where was I and what did I look like and what side did they feed on. And it's amazing how not getting enough sleep can really mess with your memory.
So if you can't remember, then little clips you can use, a little hair clips or a little paper clip even, just on the side that you did already breastfeed, and make sure you go to the other side the next time. Because again, if he's always on one side and if he's not perfectly aligned, then you're going to develop subluxations, because you tend to want to favor probably your one side or the other, right?
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about that in a future video, even just holding your child, how that would be important in terms of knowing their posture. So if you know perfect posture, then anything that puts you in that position is good, anything that gets away from it is bad. But regardless, we don't live in a perfect world. There's going to be times that we are creating stress in our bodies and our babies. So that's why it's important to get checked and make sure that we check you guys from day one all the way to day end. But the main thing is starting at day one, like Silas is here, and your other 2 kids have allowed them to be some of the healthiest kids I know.
Absolutely.
You see at your church and daycares and people around you. So that's a great question. Thanks for leaving that question. Those of you that have more questions, whether it be about rearing children through chiropractic care or other health issues, go to our Facebook page, Chiropractic First Natural Health Group. You can check out our new website called chiropracticfirst.ca. And you know what, definitely ask us, you know, what's your experience with your posture during breastfeeding? Leave us some comments on the comment section below. And if you have other questions, ask us anything at all, whether it's about this or other things. We'll be glad to answer it on our next video. All right? Have an awesome day, everybody. Thanks, Carmen.
You're very welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
Silas.
you.